Every week, we at the Rhaenyra cover House of the Dragon, and we have a fairly good system in place. Every Sunday night, I provide a prompt response to the process that includes a deep dive, a mailbag, power rankings, and a ton of podcasts. We follow every episode with these components. While recapping the events of the episode, I usually try to identify a recurring theme or draw attention to a particularly deft character development. After all, this is a complex tale with plenty of material for analysis, including the hidden parallels between Team Black and Team Green, the political issues facing Rhaenyra, and the atrocities of Westerosian warfare. But following Dragon's second season's episode 7, I say screw all that subtlety. Just like the famous King Jaehaerys, this episode was fantastic. Above all, this was a week to marvel at the spectacle that was being shown on film. One of the most expensive TV programs is House of the Dragon, and in the penultimate episode of the season, the show's creators made the most out of every dollar of that enormous budget. Episode 7 is a lengthy, reflective episode that is broken up by 2 spectacular dragon sequences. The latter dynamic is best exemplified by Alicent's homage to Ophelia in the Kingswood. This week there are no fights in the Riverlands, despite the appearance of impending conflict on the Greens. However, as Rhaenyra gathers a stable of dragonriders, during an occasion referred to in the source literature as the Sowing of the Seeds, who can more than replace the deceased Rhaenys, the Blacks unleash a torrent of dragon activity on Driftmark and Dragonstone. First up, Seasmoke pursued Addam of Hull after the conclusion of Smallfolk. Rhaenyra and Syrax are met on the beach by the new rider and his dragon at the start of episode 7. Before any speech is said, the episode opens with a sequence of loud dragon squeals that establish the tone for the next hour. Seasmoke and Syrax use these sounds to highlight the tension in the conversation between a non-Targaryen dragon rider and a Targaryen queen. The exchange that ensues is punctuated by their roars as Addam swears allegiance to Rhaenyra, and the queen, wearing a joyful, almost unbelieving smile, realizes she may find more surprise riders to support her cause. After Mysaria claims to have knowledge of at least 80 base-born Targaryen children dispersed around King's Landing, Rhaenyra exclaims, "Let us raise an army of bastards." This plan is not universally supported. The dragonkeepers of Dragonstone rise up and decline to take part in the sowing. Jace chastises his mother for enticing mongrels who could damage the Targaryen's reputation. He declares, "House Targaryen is the blood of the dragon. If someone can claim it, then who are we?" Rhaenyra responds that losing the war is the only option as there isn't a true contender for Vhagar. Thus, the plan is carried out per the Queen's directions. Mysaria and Alan slip a note to Elinda, who dons her little Red Riding Hood cloak and tells everyone in the city that Rhaenyra is seeking out Targaryen bastards in order to steal a dragon. Our beloved small-town residents of King's Landing accompany the parade to Dragonstone, where Hugh resists his wife's wishes and Ulf succumbs to the peer pressure of his bar buddies, who declare in a prophecy, Ulf the Dragon Lord. Readers will enjoy discovering that Hugh is a secret cousin of Viserys and Daemon. This would make Hugh the daughter of Sarah Targaryen, who fled her family and made a fortune working at a Lysin pleasure house. It is a considerably less effective adaptive decision that Hugh is driven to action since his ill daughter passed away off-screen. When the potential army of bastards shows up, the real fun starts. After giving them all a motivational speech reminiscent of a locker room scene from a sports film, Rhaenyra calls for Vhagar, who is described as the largest dragon in the world after Vhagar and perhaps the most fierce. Although Vhagar is initially hidden from viewers, additional ominous hints in the atmosphere cause the suspense to spike. Vhagar's sluggish, stomping approach is audible, and we can infer Jaehaerys' ancient dragon's height from the way the characters hunch over. Behind Rhaenyra, a shadow grows larger and larger until Vhagar's head emerges, menacing, snarling, and impossibly gigantic. Rhaenyra, who is accustomed to dealing with dragons, uses high Valyrian orders to calm Vhagar. His sated rumblings in his throat resemble the aliens from Arrival. Her prospective recruits appear absolutely afraid. They are not familiar with the animals of mythology. However, Rhaenyra declares, "I have nothing more to tell you. It's their time to shine." The dragon must be the one speaking. And Vhagar does too, with blood and fire, destruction and death. Instead of accepting to be claimed, the Bronze Fury headbutts people, roasts some bastards with gouts of flame, and snatches more to swallow whole. Rather than putting all of her candidates in direct line of fire, perhaps Rhaenyra should have allowed them to approach one at a time. Hugh confronts the dragon head-on in the midst of the widespread destruction, yelling to get Vermithor to focus on another bastard survivor. "This is it," the blacksmith exclaims. "Here I am. I'm prepared. Come on, please." Vermithor puts out his flames and bows his head, possibly amazed by the bravery and fearlessness of this little human, almost as if his snout were twisting into a reptile. Hugh thus makes a dragon claim. In the meantime, Ulf snatches a torch and flees into the depths of Dragonmont, hoping to avoid the fury of the dragon. Soon after, he stumbles onto a nest of scaly eggs, but Silverwing, their mother, seems to appreciate the new man she's smelling. Ulf thus also claims a dragon. The sharp contrast between the group of half-Targaryen redshirts and well-known figures Hugh and Ulf is the weak point of this amazing sequence. The sequence would have been more suspenseful if Dragon had presented viewers with a couple more bastards earlier in the season, portraying them as red herrings who met unexpected ends during Vermithor's rage. As it was, it appeared rather obvious that Hugh and Ulf would make their getaway as inexperienced riders. Nevertheless, after all the minor details that contributed to the suspenseful nature of the combat at Rook's Rest, the second notable set piece from Season 2, the Sowing offered yet another positive illustration of dragons' embracing of the fantasy genre. Although it may seem obvious in a show about mythical animals, late-season Game of Thrones failed to fully recognize this important plot detail. Long Night 2.0 and the White Walkers left me feeling let down. For extended periods, Bran vanished along with his visions. Numerous unfinished magical tales remained unfinished. However, Dragon is currently hitting all of its magical, fanciful markers. Ulf takes a joyride to King's Landing and back to celebrate his newfound relationship with Silverwing after passing his dragon audition. Even though Aemond pursues up on Vhagar, he discovers that he is vastly outnumbered as they get closer to Dragonstone. Aemond gives an order in High Valyrian, known Vhagar, and tugs hard on the reins. "Vhagar, run. Please turn around." The unbeaten Dragon Rider team appears to have found its equal for the time being, both in terms of the cosmos and the on-screen set pieces. Up until now, Aemond and Vhagar had starred in some of Dragon's most amazing action scenes, yet the Sowing may have topped the grandeur of those previous moments. Next week, Dragon's Season 2 finale will premiere. It will most likely concentrate more on plot details and military operations, possibly ending on a cliffhanger and setting up an intriguing storyline for Season 3. Viewers can, however, bask in the glory of the Sowing for the time being. It felt, looked, and sounded amazing. Like Game of Thrones before it, House of the Dragon, when at its best, delivers unmatched spectacle on the small screen.